Alright, so before we get to the video on the Instant 2, whenever I was out actually camping in it, I had a little bit of an incident and I almost had a tent fire, which is not good. And I would consider myself an extremely experienced camper, but we can all learn and we can all make mistakes. So at some point in the video, I'm going to drop this sort of clip in and explain to you and show you just what exactly happened. But look, tonight is the first sort of test or mountain test of the Samaya Instant 2 single skin kind of freestanding ultralight tent, for want of a better way to. So look, thank you very much for tuning into the video. Welcome to the channel. If you're a new member, welcome back. If you're already subscribed, subscribe it. The conditions tonight that we're going to get or encounter, I don't think it's going to be particularly windy, but it is particularly damp. So we'll see how the tent gets on in respect of managing condensation. Now, earlier on I had a little bit of an audio problem, so the video's not done just exactly the way I would like to do it, but I'm going to go back now and talk you through the actual setup of the tent. And I'll talk firstly about pack size. So this is a 30-litre pack, and I've come up here tonight pretty well kitted out. I'll put a kit list in the description. So I'm well enough kitted out, and I've managed to come up and use a 30-litre pack, although I do go quite minimalist. But part of that's been down to the actual pack size. Here are the poles in comparison to the size of the rucksack, and here is the actual stuff sack in comparison to the size of the rucksack as well. So it has enabled me to lighten my load a little bit with a smaller pack into the bargain. So setup of the tent, when I'm sort of setting up any tent, I always kind of put the poles out first, because it just means that the tent's not pegged down if it's windy or anything. Get the poles ready first. I always stay low when I'm putting the poles. It's just kind of putting the poles up. It's just sort of something that I always do, and I assemble them very carefully, in particular because these are carbon poles. Then I actually would peg the tent out at the windward end only. I just think this gives you a little bit more flexibility than fully pegging the tent out in all four corners. So I'm laying the tent out, and now I'm actually going to thread the poles through the pole sleeves. Now the poles are quite thin and the pole sleeves are quite broad, and there's no real curvature on the pole sleeves, so to be fair, the poles actually go through the pole sleeves super easy. And the pole sleeves actually, incidentally, are numbered, just to make it a little bit easier to arc the pole with one pole going in first, and then you arc that particular pole, and you're pulling up the weight of the other pole underneath it as to try and push the pole up on top of it, if you understand what I'm saying. Pushing the poles up then, adjusting the tension adjusters nice and tight to get the best pitch, pulling out the guy lines, and just always making sure everything looks right. And I must say, I found the tent incredibly easy here to set up. It has only two poles, so that makes it easier. I mean, the more poles a tent has, the more complicated it will be. Pole sleeves are easier to manage than clips, although clips have their advantages as well. So first of all, obviously getting organised in a tent, because of the actual tent design, where these poles here come up pretty steep, and then you have a pretty flat roof, and then it kind of drops down on the other side. I have a lot of room. I could sit up. I mean, I'm 6'1". I can move. I don't know how well. You can't really see this very well, but I can move down in almost to the crossing poles, and I've still got really, really good space, all around me, sort of head height and actual shoulder room in order to get set up. So I'm just going to set up the tent, and then we'll get back to you. So with the tent here having two vestibules, if you're right-handed, you can lie down on your left side and actually work with your right hand in this vestibule here, or obviously the opposite. So that's actually really handy. I've actually swapped over, film-wise. So it's enabling me to manage things here very, very easily. And as I said earlier, the actual total space in the tent here is really, really, really good. It's handy for me to sort of sit up and be able to organise and do things. So a very quick look at inside the tent for the actual tent setup. So the mattress that I'm using tonight is my Neoair Xtherm. It's the max one, so it's a square one, and it's I don't think it's a long wide, but it's a regular wide. And you can see there's quite a bit of space here down this side on the actual mattress, and then down into the sort of end of the tent. I've got my pack sitting down, you know, in here as well. Storage down at the very bottom along the complete wall, and then just in the top here I have my lantern, just geared off, just utilising it at the moment just with some dry bags. So good space. The far vestibule at the moment I actually don't even have anything in it. And then if I just come back a little bit, just to let you see, I mean, it's just a setup here at the front. So just a quick brew here before I go to sleep tonight. You can get a bit of an idea of the space here in the vestibule. Plenty there for to sort of cook. Obviously I do have it open at the moment. But look, I'll say good night, and then in the morning what we'll do is we'll sort of talk you through a bit more regarding the interior space. Obviously there's more light so I can show you more about the tent, and I'll kind of sum it up with my final thoughts. So when you're going camping and you're using gas, you always come up against a scenario where you've got a gas canister and there's not quite enough gas in it to use for the trip, but also you don't want to throw it out because there still is an amount of gas. So there's a little gadget here that I've got. It was bought to me as a present, and it allows you to sort of get gas to flow from one canister into another. So for example, if this one's full, I can connect it and I can actually transfer gas from this one into this one. So it's got an in and an out on it, and you simply just connect this up. So this one here will be the canister that has the most gas in it, and this is just connected up. And this one's the one you want to fill. Connect it up, and then you simply open the valve, and you can hear there one is transferring to the other. Okay, so the issue that I had is there didn't seem to be much gas transferring from the top valve into the bottom. So I thought, right, I'll sort this out, and I'll go and put the bottom one in the freezer to reduce the temperature down and reduce the pressure of the gas, and then the gas will flow quicker into this one and more efficiently. And there's absolutely no doubt that's what happened. But what actually happened was I overfilled this. And it certainly did feel pretty heavy, but when I then connected it up to the gas canister or the stove, this is basically what happened. Whoa, nice one. Oh, come on. That's not so good. There's a wee bit of an issue with gas flare there, which doesn't happen very often. So obviously, just just highlights the need to be very, very careful. Don't want to get singed eyebrows. So there you are. Just something random that happened to me. Lots of random things can happen when you go camping, and obviously avoiding tent fires is a big one. So I hope you enjoyed that wee bit extra put in. So now just back to the video on the Instant 2. Alright, so good morning. Still not fully light yet, so I've had to sort of improvise and add a wee bit of light with my head torch, so hopefully the shots are kind of okay. But look, so what do I think of the Samaya Instant 2? I think you're going to probably know and expect that I'm going to say, yeah, I really, really like the tent. And I'll talk about the number of reasons, for that, now. So first of all, the bottom line was, I actually had a really, really comfortable night's sleep. And the things that made it comfortable was just the general space and the design of the tent. I've talked about it a bit before, but just, certainly for one person, there just is so much room. And whenever I'm lying sleeping at night, I just like to have, I don't lie and sleep like this, but I just like to have although my arms are maybe tucked a bit in my sleeping bag, I just like space around my head, and that's really, really good in the tent. The other issue, or not another issue, but obviously we want to talk about condensation. Now this is made out of Dyneema, and obviously it's not breathable, and yes, there is a little bit of dampness on that, but the actual inner tent is everywhere I touch is completely bone dry, and you'll not really be able to see it, but if I just double check here the bottom of the sleeping bag, you know, fraction of dampness, but very, very, very little. The length of the tent as well, you know, as I said earlier, I'm 6'1", and if I put my feet where they're nearly touching the bottom, there's no point in me showing you that on camera, and I kind of lie down here. I'm on a pretty thick pad as well. Yeah, it's just, you know, it's just about the perfect length. It's not super long, but, you know, I don't have any issues with it, and I find that very, very comfortable. Now, a couple of advantages of the single skin fabric. Obviously, it is lighter, you know, and this tent's coming in, I think, about 1,050 or 60 or 70 grams, something about that. So it makes the tent lighter. It also really, really gives you an advantage with pack space, because you're only packing, obviously, one layer. There's like half the fabric. And also, it does make pitching, I think, a little bit easier, just due to the simplicity, and that you're not managing, you know, a tent, an inner tent and an outer tent. You've just got it all actually going up in one. Now, last night, the conditions, you know, at the moment, it's pretty damp outside, and there's very, very little wind. So, you know, I would have thought there could have been some condensation, but, you know, there just wasn't any. And I suppose with the likes of a single skin tent, that's the one thing everyone thinks about, condensation. You know, and every time I use it, I do think like that, but I'm also really, really impressed, because on all the other times when I've used my Assault 2, and my friend Gary has used his, we've never on any of our camps had an issue with condensation. It's the one thing that's really, really surprised me, and I've been completely amazed by. Now, I've talked before, you know, Samaya tents, the construction and build quality and attention to detail is just next level. You know, it's just really, really good. It's what you would expect at the money that you're actually paying. So that's another sort of thing that I really like about a tent. You know, you spend a lot of money on something, and it's got to feel good, you know, and this certainly does. And I'm definitely hoping to keep this tent for a substantial length of time, because I can't see myself honestly doing many, many, many camps in it. The twin vestibules, you know, there's really good space in the vestibules, and me using this last night, I actually didn't even use the back vestibule, because there's enough space in the inner tent to actually store my gear. But the twin vestibules, as I said earlier as well, allows you to lie down. If you're left-handed, you can lie down on your right and use your left hand, and if you're right-handed like me, you can lie down on your left and use your right. So it's very, very comfortable for this, and there's a really good opening, you know here. Drawbacks, I'm kind of struggling a bit. I mean, I have said before that there's not a double zipper, and I think maybe Samaya are looking at that in the latest models, you know, for a wee bit better venting, particularly maybe if you're cooking and you need, you know, it's adverse conditions and you need to sort of close everything in. So for me, you know, I'm lying here speaking to the camera, and I'm trying to think of negatives. Obviously, you know, the big one, it's not really a negative, but, you know, it is price. But I think, you know, if you're looking at a tent like this and you're wanting something a little bit different, something a little bit special, and you enjoy absolute premium products, this has all of those features, and it's really, really functional as well. So for me, I actually really like the tent, and of all the Samaya tents that I've used, it's probably my favourite, you know, to be honest. Now, obviously, I haven't had it that long, but I just can honestly see me using the tent for a lot of different scenarios. I know it's been wind tunnel tested with Samaya, and it feels pretty strong end on. So I think it's going to do quite well in the wind. And in the future, you know, I'll be getting some videos up of its wind performance and actually testing it in a bit more challenging conditions. So until then, you can have a little look, if you haven't already, at my previous video on the Samaya, and it was my kind of first look where I took it out sort of for a little bit of bike packing. Okay, so thank you very much for tuning into the channel.